let's jump back into the contest. So our speaker will be Mr. Emilio Ron. Drive. Mr. Emilio Ron, drive.
Did you know that if you look up the definition for the word drive, you can find up to 15 different meanings? But there's one meaning in particular that I came to talk to you about. Drive, the ambition and determination of a person to achieve a goal regardless of the circumstance. Now, this definition came into play very recently when I was telling my friend about my goals and aspirations. I was talking about how I want to be a professional speaker. I want to start my own podcast. I want to be so jacked that I could barely fit through the door, walking sideways. And I was excited when I was talking about my future. And like an old wise prophet, she interrupted me and very strategically asked, "What drives you?" My fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, Madam Contest Chair. I was stumped. I had to think about that one for a second. What drives me? Took a long pause. I had to think about it. Longer than that one. And then it hit me. Peep, peep, peep. It's 3 a.m. And my mother has to get up to go to her first shift at a 24-hour cafe. She works from 4 a.m. to about noon, taking countless orders and serving food all day. And then she gets home at noon, makes dinner for my brother and I, picks us up from school at around 3, and by 4 p.m., she has to go back to her second shift, sweeping and cleaning, picking up garbage from the grandstands at the horse racetrack after everyone left. Back-breaking work. Till about 10 or 11 p.m. when she gets home, checks on my brother and I, goes to sleep, and wakes up to do it all over again the next day. Drive. The ambition and determination of a person to achieve a goal regardless of the circumstance. My mother only wanted one thing for us, to buy us a house. Some place that we could call home, where we could roam around free of any danger or eviction. It would take my mother 7 years of back-breaking double shifts before we would buy our first house. Peep, peep, peep. 6 a.m. this time. And my father has to get up to cook my brother and I breakfast. And then he would take us to school and drive to work for 10 to 12 hours to work at a TV repair shop. My dad is an electrical engineer from one of the best schools in Ecuador. But in this country, that doesn't mean anything. So TV repair shop was the best he could do at the time. And then at 9 p.m. he would get home and check our homework. And there was one night that I will never forget for the rest of my life of homework. I was in the 4th grade, and I had this major project. It wasn't only a project, it was also a school-wide competition. I had to build a longhouse. And for those that don't know, it's an Iroquois Native American, basically a longhouse made of straw, wood, and tree bark. And I had 6 weeks to do this because it was a big deal. And like a responsible student, I started the night before. And I let my dad know this. And he was so thrilled, gave me an earful of his excitement. But proceeded to help me anyways. And I got about 2 or 3 toothpicks started when I was exhausted by my efforts and started falling asleep on the project. And he saw this. And he said, "Go to bed, I'll finish it." And the next day, on my kitchen table, I found the most detailed, fully painted, museum-worthy replica of a longhouse that you will ever see. He had stayed up all night to do it. Drive, the ambition and determination of a person to achieve a goal regardless of the circumstance. My father could have let me fail, and he would have been right to do so and teach me a lesson. But not only did he want his son to complete the project, he wanted his son to win first place. And guess what happened? It blew everyone away. Teacher was so proud she called the principal to come take a look at the masterpiece. And I was just standing there, taking all the credit, scoffing at all the other projects. Like, hey, yo, Billy Boy, call that a longhouse? We should build it in the dark. I've since thanked my father for that night. It's my fondest memory of him. So when I go through my own hardships, all I have to do is think about everything my parents have done for me. And suddenly they're not that hard. So when I went to high school, and they called me a spig and said I never amount to anything, I went to college and studied engineering. And when I finished college, my professor told me I wouldn't get a job because my grades weren't high enough. It's been 6 years. I've worked for 3 different engineering firms. The most recent, one of the largest and most well-known in the world. And when I told people I wanted to be a speaker, and they laughed in my face, said, who are you going to motivate? Hope they watch this video. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. When my friend asked me what drives me, what motivates me, why am I so passionate, all I have to do is think of my mom picking up garbage to make ends meet. All I have to do is think of my dad staying up all night just to be a good father to his son. And the answer becomes very clear. I get it from them. Drive. The ambition and determination of a person to achieve a goal regardless of the circumstance. And